we were talking in our Eisen Overtime segment yesterday about the opening scene from
last week's episode.
Where he's playing Saul Goodman for, I think, kind of the first time, because the only other times when he appears as, in a way, Saul Goodman, he's kind of Jimmy McGill post Breaking Bad in the middle of the country as somebody
Gene.
else.
So he's Saul, but he's now Gene. But we don't see the full,
he's on the
full
run.
color of.
This is kind of the first time in Better Call Saul we have seen him as Saul Goodman, I believe.
It's also the first time we've opened like a show that's in the in-between time.
Right.
We've got the Gene on the other end of Breaking Bad, and then this is actually this is like finding a lost scene of Breaking Bad. And you were talking the other day in the overtime about the episode. It would be Granite State, which is the episode that he would be in.
Brockman, you were wondering like what episode?
You were
Yeah, because I was reading recaps, and there someone said, I think it was Alan Sepinwall said it was between Ozymandias and Granite State.
that's sort of when that moment happens, you know.
Because we don't ever see him
bug out,
panic, punch the walls, find the cash.
Which is so satisfying.
And make the call.
He made the call.
Right.
He made the call. You know, it's so good. And I mean, that whole scene for me works when he puts his arms out to get a hug from Francesca. She just turns.
Gives him nothing.
Right? Gives him nothing.
But for me as a fan, I'm wondering, you know, I so want more of that, you know? And the question is why? Is that just like a piece of red meat do you have to the fans who want more of that, or do you ever have a conversation with the makers of the show about this sort of thing?
You know, I think the whole show is predicated on the idea that we know where we're going. So we're watching this slow motion car crash, basically. Because as you sort of like Jimmy McGill, you realize he's not going to stay that way. But you still want to see Saul, because Saul was great in Breaking Bad. But now we see what he is losing as he goes there. It's like, I think there's a lot of sentiment for like, oh, can't Kim Wexler, can't they go somewhere?
Yeah.
Can't they go somewhere and just have a good life as opposed to what's going to happen? But, you know, the episode was called Quite a Ride, written by Ann Cherkis. And, you know, when he says that, quite a ride, we know what that ride is. And I think that's the deliciousness of sort of watching what's going to happen next.
And I was telling you off camera, and I'll say here, Patrick Fabian of Better Call Saul playing Howard Hamlin here on the Rich Eisen Show, is that, you know, I talk about this with my wife as I'm watching the show, whether we're locked into Better Call Saul, is that the movie Miracle is one of my favorite sports movies. I know Team USA is going to win the gold medal.
And yet
I'm on the edge of my seat the entire time. I know your character, Howard, and as you mentioned, Kim Wexler, you're the only characters I think on the show that I know are not going to be killed by Walter White. Spoiler alert.
Maybe not killed. Maybe we go to the Caribbean. Kim and I open up a sort of pro bono law firm, and we sail around the Caribbean. It's called Thongs R Us, and we, you don't know.
But watching it, it's so crazy because we know where Jimmy, Saul go, right?
Yeah.
But don't you want Jimmy to be good and end up with Kim and they have a great life together?
Well, there's some fan theories out there that say that does happen, but it happens in Omaha.
In the back end.
Maybe it happens in the back end. You know, you seem very gleeful about my death at the hands of Walter White, but maybe
I don't know if you
something
do.
else happens. I mean, we don't know. It could be even more sad where, you know, I just sort of drift away as life happens.
Right.
The writers have not keyed us into what may be going on. I know that Ray Seahorn, who plays Kim Wexler, and I will, whenever we get a script, we immediately and then call each other like, alive again for one more week.
You're not killed.
It's true, because we don't know. You know, Jonathan Banks, I talked to him one time about, you know, how excited I was that we got picked up for season 3 and everything else. I mean, I called him like we had made the JV cheerleading squad. I'm like, Jonathan, we got picked up. And he goes, that's nice, Patrick. But let me remind you, we know that I make it to Breaking Bad. We know Bobby makes it to Breaking Bad. You, Seahorn, Mando, we don't know what happens to you.
It's a great imitation of him, man.
His final capper was this: save your money.
Oh, that is great. Because we had Giancarlo Esposito in studio a couple of weeks ago, and he said the scene where he tells the Michael Mando character, "You are mine," and he said he did it in one take. He said that it was a very edgy night on the set.
Yes. So I heard. If you've noticed, my suit doesn't show up in those dirty, dirty places.
I know
that they seem to like
you're a
to
white
be.
collar. You're a white collar guy.
But I heard there was some tension.
Does that happen a lot?
And good tension. Well, you know what? We're all working hard, and it gets late. It's nighttime. It's dark, and those guys are also mining some really dark emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be curious to be a fly on the wall for a lot of those scenes.
I bet.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.